Hello, my name is Kiriath, and tonight we're going to have a little chat about an army that I feel should be next in line for the plastic treatment. And it's going to sound weird saying it because it's an army that already has quite a lot of stuff in plastic. The thing is that a lot of the stuff that makes that army so unique and so interesting is still languishing in the resin lands. It is, of course, Eldar, or Craft Worlds if you want to go that route, or Eldari if you want to call them the actual... Eldar. Let's just say Eldar. Simpler, nicer. It's aged well, the name Eldar. It's one of the few ones I really wish they hadn't changed, but there you go. By and large, the Eldar range actually still looks pretty damn good. But with the updating of the Sisters of Battle, whether or not you're a fan of the direction that's going, I've been kind of looking back at other ranges, and there are a few units in the Eldar list, in the Eldar section of the website, that have not aged badly, but could be brought in line with everything else in terms of detail, in terms of posing, with what feels like not too much of a redesign. And there would be the added benefit, of course, of having them in plastic and not having to deal with resin. I will admit that the resin side of Games Workshop's production has got considerably better over the years. It's not quite as bad as it used to be, but the level of detail that they're achieving through plastic is still better, I would argue. Less cleanup, less messing about. It just seems to be the better material for the stuff that they are producing right now. And the things that really make Eldar for me are the Aspect Warriors. And those are unfortunately the things that have just stayed resin the entire time. Some of them I don't actually think even need that much updating. I mean, if we have a quick look at them, the Striking Scorpions still look pretty good to my eye. They look a little dated, perhaps. The posing is not quite as dynamic as it could be. It's not quite as fluid. It's not quite got the motion that a lot of the new stuff has. But I would suggest that they have aged actually really, really well, especially when you look at, I mean, some of the Phoenix Lords are not great. They have not aged well. They have all the hallmarks of the Khorne Berserker style, look, we can do motion now, going on, when actually they sort of, kind of could, but not really. An example of ones that I feel like would just work instantly, and it would just be nice to see a small update just to bring them in line, and just to bring out some of that detail, would be the Howling Banshees. They look really good for their age. They look absolutely fantastic for their age. I genuinely think that in terms of trying to get that feel of movement, that proper sense of momentum, there are a couple of models in this kit that they've done really, really well. I mean, the leader of this squad, I don't think that pose would look out of place now. That's how well this lot have aged. And again, the detail is still nice. It's just slightly dated. And that's, to be honest, a bit of a trend with all of this stuff. I mean, again, the Swooping Hawks, they've managed to make them look as though they can fly without sticking them on flight stands, and also giving that feeling of movement. Something that, to be honest, some of the more recent stuff has lacked. I mean, much though Inceptors are fun, they don't look like they're moving quick. They don't look like they're actually capable of the movement that they should be. Same thing with the Suppressors for the Primaris range as well. They have a similar issue whereby they should be looking, they should look as though they're plummeting down into the fight, and they don't. They look floaty and weightless. These look floaty and weightless because they are Eldar jump units. They are supposed to look like that. They're supposed to have that dynamic. They're supposed to have that attitude. They still have it. And again, I mean, what could you do to update them? Just better the detail slightly. Maybe make the poses a little bit better by being able to separate the legs out. It's just stuff that they weren't able to do before, but little changes that could bring this stuff very easily into the same kind of quality that we see on a regular basis, especially when it comes to actual detail. Again, the Dark Reapers have aged pretty damn well. It would be nice to have essentially that, but with a few more options for poses. Then again, I say that, when you look at the Chaos Space Marine stuff, there isn't that big a variety of poses, and yet they look pretty damn good. This is yet another example. I mean, aside from changing the heads up, I feel like you wouldn't need to do much. There are a few, admittedly, that I think could do with a bit more of an update. The Fire Dragons are a weird unit to me because they don't seem to have aged quite as well. I would say the Dark Reapers, the Swooping Hawks, the Howling Banshees, they've all aged pretty damn well. These, for some reason, feel more dated. I think it's probably just the posing more than anything else. But again, what you need to do is perhaps just bulk out a few areas just a little bit to make the proportions a bit more sensible. Have them pointing the gun in a way that doesn't look as though there was no other way to do it, and you'd be there. When it comes to like proper stealthy units, the Eldar Rangers still look good. They, I don't think, have aged at all. I think these are some of the best miniatures that Games Workshop have made, because they just do not age. They looked good when they came out. They've got, again, a nice feeling to them. They feel right for what they are. There is actually some nice posing going on. They don't need to look like they're running about the place. They need to look stealthy. They need to look businesslike, and they've absolutely nailed that. It would just be so nice to have just that extra bit of support for some of this stuff. I would say of all of them, the Warp Spiders could do with the most work. This is just me speaking personally, but the Warp Spiders, for me, I really like the attitude of them, but I feel like they're a scary unit, right? They're not designed to look kind of sleek or as though they're in the middle of flight or in the middle of sprint or anything like that. They look ominous. They look imposing. They look almost tanky to some extent. They could do with perhaps being made a little bit taller. Again, separating the guns out from the bodies a bit, just giving them a bit more presence. But the actual design of them, again, I feel like it doesn't need much. It feels like Eldar are genuinely in a bit of a weird position because they, for the most part, look pretty decent. But the Aspect Warriors themselves just feel a bit lacking now. They haven't even aged that badly. They don't look terrible. They don't look awful. But they're just not of the same standard as the rest of the range. And it kind of shows a little bit. There's also the fact that when I see Eldar armies these days, I very rarely see Howling Banshees. I very rarely see Dark Reapers or Swooping Hawks or any of them. I see Wraithblades, and I see Wraithlords, and I see Wraith Knights and Farseers, and the occasional fighter, and usually some sort of float tank of some description, whether it be the Fire Prism or the Transport, and that's fine, but there's like a wealth of really rich lore like other units that could be made more than they are. It would be kind of nice to see. It would be nice to see a Xenos race get the kind of refit that Sisters of Battle are getting. Maybe not the whole range, but just bringing stuff like that in line with everything else, so that nothing in that range looks dated. Nothing in that range looks as though it belongs to a different time of 40k. In a weird way, when it comes to Eldar, I would really like to see the Aspect Warriors updated and brought into plastic and given that extra bit of detail and just given that touch up. At the same time, it almost feels like asking for that or suggesting that that'd be the next thing is a tad unfair, just because they still look pretty good for the most part. The thing is, they still look pretty good, whereas a lot of the other Eldar stuff looks really good. And when it comes to like units that haven't been updated for a while, I feel like Aspect Warriors shouldn't be in that list, you know? They should be an integral part of things. They should be in line with everything else, and I'm assuming that the rules don't really support taking a lot of them now, just because I don't see them very often. In fact, I can't remember the last time I've actually seen them in an Eldar army. But, I don't know. I've got a soft spot for them. It would be nice to see them brought in line. How likely that is, I don't know. But that would be my pick. That would be my choice. That would be the thing. If someone said, hey, you can make Games Workshop update a thing, what are you going to do? I think I'd go for them. Because in a weird way, it just feels like they deserve it. But then again, they still look good. And there's the danger that things will be changed too much. It's weird. It's a weird range, the Eldar range. There is so much going for it, and there are some great models still, but they're just not quite up to scratch the same way that the newer stuff is. It's a pity. Anyway, I was just basically looking through and just went, yeah, I want those, but newer is all that boils down to. Is there any particular unit or army that you would like to see updated sooner rather than later? Do you think that things like the Eldar stuff, everything being brought in line to be kind of the same standard, is something you'd like to see for other armies? Or especially in this case, do you feel like they still look good enough, they still look nice enough, they haven't aged too badly, you would actually prefer to keep the older versions if new ones were to come along? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things everywhere. Now, as far as I'm aware, I don't think you can buy any of these lads from Element Games, but you can buy a bunch of other 40k stuff using the affiliate link down below if you want. Don't have to use it. It's entirely up to you. I leave it in your capable hands. And I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.